Going once, going twice. English it is. طيب. Hi everybody. Perfect. Hi everybody. So my name is Desiree.
هيدا انعبى اول ما بلشنا بالريسبونس تبع البلاست.
يعطيها العافية نور. طيب. Very nice. Welcome everybody. Very nice to meet you. Thank you for making the time. I know it's a Friday afternoon and it's not everybody else's favorite activity to be on a Zoom call. Hopefully this will give you a lot of value for what you're looking for. Just before I get started, a bit of a disclaimer. This is a personal initiative. None of the companies that we mention or that we're going to talk about are officially or unofficially involved in this. This is Naila, Desiree, Marta, Wa'el that are actually organizing this. And what we want to do is try and share our personal experience, having worked at a lot of these large companies and worked with a lot of different CVs. I've hired numerous people. I've screened hundreds and hundreds of CVs. I know Naila and Marta have done the same. So this is in the context of Alumni Central. Alumni Central is an NGO that was established in Lebanon a few years back. I'm currently on the board with Wa'el being the president. And what Alumni Central is, it's an NGO that helps a lot of the alumni and accomplished professionals in Lebanon to gather around community and change driving initiatives. The focus now is to help a lot of the students and the young professionals to further their career in spite of all the circumstances. Wa'el, did you want to say something about Alumni Central quickly?
Well, I think you said enough, but just I want to say that recently we have diverted our efforts towards, we are an alumni group, the alumni of the top 29 universities worldwide. So now because of the circumstances, we're gonna divert all our efforts to help out fresh graduates, students, alumni in every way possible. And this webinar is just the beginning. So please stay in touch, follow our social media groups, and we'll stay in touch. Thank you so much for attending. Thank you so much for the speakers.
Good, good. Before I ask Naila and Marta to introduce themselves, I'm going to ask every single one of you to please turn on your cameras. It's really a lot more enjoyable when you see the other people reacting to what you're saying. This is virtual, it's hard enough. So please turn on your camera if you can. Naila, over to you. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. So quickly, I'm Naila, Lebanese. I lived in the US for about 10 years. I did INSEAD and then I joined Amazon. So I've been at Amazon for a bit over 6 years. And like Desiree said, I hired extensively in the past 2 years, especially for marketing positions.
Very good. Thank you for doing this. Marta?
Sure. So hello, everyone. My name is Marta. I grew up in France. I'm Lebanese. I lived 6 years in Lebanon, did a gestion BA in UAG, and then graduated from a master in HEC. And I've joined McKinsey in June 2019, and I'm a business analyst there.
And this is how I know Marta. So I am currently a VP / expert AP at McKinsey in Paris. I've been with McKinsey for about a little bit over 3.5 years now. And then prior to that, I spent about 20 years in tech in Silicon Valley and other places, working at Amazon, at IBM, and various startups, including my own. So super happy to be here, but without further ado, let's get started. What I wanted to do with this session, along with Naila and Marta, is to tackle 3 different sections. The first section is we're going to talk about general CV tips, how to structure your CV, what to put.
No, do it here.
What to put in it, what to avoid, etc. The second section is around how do you think about your career? What's a strategy that is going to help you, especially if you're targeting the larger multinationals with a specific focus on tech? And the third piece is going to be around general tips, communication, Q&A. So please prepare your questions. Feel free to add them to the chat as we go through them, and then we'll try and tackle them as we go along. So Naila, do you want to get us started with your thoughts on CVs from what you've seen that worked, didn't work?
Yeah. So, I mean, as a hiring manager, there are basically 3 things that I look at when I'm scanning CVs. So first of all, I'm looking for functional experience. So did you work in the function I'm hiring for? Like, did you do marketing? Do you have the experience I'm looking for? So it's important to use these keywords for the jobs you're targeting. Like if you want to be in marketing and you want to go into marketing, it's important to put a little bit of the keywords like digital marketing.
Sorry, I think you're disabled, Naila.
Okay, so I just practiced by myself. So yeah, now I'll give you the better version. So when I was hiring for my team, there are basically 3 areas I would look for in a CV. So first of all, the functional experience. So I'm hiring for marketing. I want to see what you did specifically for marketing. So if you don't have that, I'm just not going to look at the CV anymore. So make sure to put the relevant keywords for the job function you're targeting. It's very important to look, of course, at the job description and see what in your CV would correspond to that and highlight it in your CV, right? So that's the first one. The second very important one is I look at achievements, right? What did you do and how did you contribute? I'm not interested, I mean, I'm less interested, let's say, to see that what your daily tasks were. I'm more interested in what you achieved. For example, I'll give an example. I achieved the growth of 33% on this business, or I brought 100 million euro of business for this company. So this is what is called achievement-based CV. Of course, you still have to kind of put in key responsibility, and the focus is on key responsibility. So the point is not to just fill the CV with banalité, I want to say, but really clear responsibility. The third thing I'm looking for is leadership skills, right? So do you work well with others? And this is where I would look for, did you work with a lot of other teams? How big were the teams you worked for? And also I try to get a sense of the proactiveness of the person, and this comes off really in the verbs and the terms they use. For example, if you leave a sentence that I was tasked to do X and Y and Z, I'm like, okay, this person needs to be told what to do, and I don't want that person. But if you say that I created this initiative, I started, I initiated, so you are seen as more proactive, and this is where it's more interesting for me as a hiring manager.
Very cool, thank you for that. So I want to pick up on what Naila was just saying about the achievements. A lot of the CVs that I've seen, and this is a very important point, a lot of the CVs that I've seen talk about their achievements as a job description would read. Yani, they would be like, on a day-to-day was asked to lead a team, or was tasked with that. So in addition to the fact that I don't have an idea of the context that you're trying to drive an impact in, or what that quantification of the impact was, a lot of it reads as very passive. And like Naila said, passive means that you're not at the seniority level that I'm looking for. Now you tell me that maybe I'm an intern and I'm starting in the beginning, and how do I even show that when I don't even have a job to showcase that? This is where your extracurricular activities come in. So any kind of leadership positions that you've done, being a Girl Scout or a volunteer in the Red Cross or what have you, anything that you've taken the initiative to do please use that as your opportunity to show that you were able to drive whatever transferable impact that you have there to somewhere else. So whatever transferable skills that you use there to drive impact, that could help you drive impact somewhere else. So if you go with nothing else from this session, quantify, quantify, quantify. Every single thing you put on your resume needs to be quantified. Yani every single line needs to have, I drove, and forget the I, you can just say drove 33% increase in customer engagement, leveraging SEO optimization, مثلا. Or you can say, created a partnership between X and Y, for a joint business opportunity of X millions of dollars. Or led a team of 3 team members in, achieving XYZ goal. Try to quantify as much as possible. Yani, the question you're trying to answer is, if you weren't there, what is the piece that would be missing because you weren't there to achieve it? Okay. If you want to read more about this, look up SMART, S-M-A-R-T. It's a framework that helps you figure out how to phrase things with the context, with a realizable goal that you can talk about. Use action verbs. Do not put a laundry list of all things, especially if you have quite a bit of experience. Try, if you don't have experience or much experience, yani if you're at the 5 to 7 years mark, you probably shouldn't have more than 1 page worth of information. If you have more than that, then you're not able to distill it. People have very little attention span. They have hundreds of CVs. So try to help them to focus on what is important. If I, with over 20 years of experience, can fit my whole experience and my education and all of my board, etc., into 2 pages, I think with 5 years or 7 years, you should be able to fit it into 1 page. Okay, so try to be creative. Don't forget the margins. The margins are important. The presentation is important, but مثلا your contact information, put them in the footer. The list of all the classes that you've taken, just pick the key ones that are relevant to this job. Which brings me to the other point is, you can tailor and you should tailor your CV to the job you're looking for. Yeah, if you're applying to work with Naila and you want to have marketing being something that you've showcased, you look at what does this job description that Naila has that is required, and where can you map it to something that you've done in the past, and this is what you showcase. So for example, in marketing, you need to be creative, you need to be good with language, you need to be potentially working with a marketing agency, you need to understand digital marketing, customer engagement, community management, be able to work with disparate teams. Globally, you need to work in multiple languages, whatever the job description requires. Try to figure out how to actually showcase that in that CV. And let's say, I don't know what I'm gonna get. So you know what? I'm also gonna apply to a job to work with Marta, which is more business and a business analyst at like a consulting company. Over there, what they really need is potentially my presentation skills, my intellectual rigor skills, my data analysis skills. So I'll try to find times where I've used data to drive impact, to do analysis, to look at different sources, my Excel skills, my potentially my, I don't know, Python or Tableau skills, my impersonal presentation, be it my theater experience, what have you, anything that has relatable transferable skills, I want to showcase that and then make sure that it appears. And this is especially important if you do not have if you're switching or if you're starting. Yeah, if you're going from I was in college, we were just talking, I think, with Leticia, who just graduated and is looking for an internship. She doesn't necessarily have the history to show that she did whatever jobs that match exactly. So this is where the transferable skills come in. With me so far? Yes? Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. Hala, so we talked about the length, we talked about the format, the verbs, the quantification. One other thing to keep in mind is education versus experience. I'm talking from the perspective of multinational companies. If your education is what's the most relevant right now because you're still studying, so there's very little experience to put in, then yes, put your education first. But if you have a few years of experience and your education is from 5+ years ago or 3+ years ago, it's not the last thing that you've done, put your education second. So highlight your experience first and then your education second. Okay, otherwise I'm gonna be tempted to think this is a student and she's probably looking for an internship. Which brings me to a third point or X point, and it is the executive summary. Do not hesitate to put on top an executive summary that actually serves a couple of purposes. One, it needs to give the reader a sense for who you are as a person as well as a professional. Yani, are you a leader? Are you a doer? Are you a strategic thinker? Are you an analytical person? Are you a creative person? These dimensions don't necessarily come out easily in the resume, so it's good to add them on top. It also needs to give the reader what kind of a position you're looking for, especially if the company might have multiple different positions and you're open to a couple of them. And this is where you talk about your multinational background and your adaptability to change and all of that. Make sure that it's not more than three, four lines. Make sure that it's descriptive enough of you, and make sure that whatever description is there is actually useful for the job that you're looking for. So back to the whole tailoring idea. Now, the other thing that this executive summary is going to help with is with automatic keyword optimization. So a lot of the large companies have software that actually scans the resumes, either the resumes that are submitted or the resumes that are online. So make sure that the keywords that are highlighted in the job description you're looking for are included in the executive summary. Okay. This becomes even more important when you are switching jobs and those keywords do not exist in the body. Should we have a summary part in the CV, even if we will be sending a more detailed cover letter with our CV? Cover letters are a very, very touchy subject. Some people love them, some people hate them. And a lot of recruiters tell me they don't even read them. But if the job is asking for them, you're gonna have to create one. So yes, what is the worst case scenario? There's gonna be some overlap between the cover letter and the executive summary or the CV. In any case, they're both talking about you. But you should assume that they may not be read together. They may not be read by the same person. And one of them, the CV, the summary, is basically if you're creating a presentation, your executive summary for the whole thing, it's like, if I only have 2 minutes to spend on this, what do you want me to go away with so I don't have to read every single one of them? This is what the executive summary is for. The cover letter takes that, develops it into, I'm in love with your company, this is the perfect job for me because I've done this, I've done that, for this employer, for that employer, etc. And I would love to set up some time to talk to you, and I will be following up in 2 weeks or something like this. This would be your cover letter. So slightly more context, slightly more makhta, and with the direct mapping to the actual jobs. So write this down, jobscan.co. This is a great tool that will help you add keywords to your CV that are relevant to, thank you, to the expertise that, that you're trying to showcase. Okay, so we talked about the jobs, the executive summary. A lot of you who have been doing a lot of certification will have skills that don't necessarily, you've taken some programming classes, even though you're a business major, you know how to do Google SEO optimization, even though they've never really worked in marketing. So you want a way to showcase that. This is where you can potentially add a section with the skills and or the classes that you've taken. This is in addition to the education piece. Again, if you have less experience, this becomes even more important, or if you're switching, and this is a way to showcase that. Now, if you have gaps in your experience because you had to go take care of an ailing parent, you had a baby, you decided to travel the world, whatever it is, make sure that you actually showcase that and address it up front. A lot of people are becoming very creative about that. So some of them say chief caretaker officer or a chief traveler or whatever it is. Just make sure that you put it in terms that are very descriptive, but don't spend the whole page on it. Just took a year to take care of terminally ill cousin or a grandpa or something. Okay. Because you're looking at international applications, something that's going to be very important is your nationality status. So if you have the right to work in a specific region that you're applying for, and if you're willing to relocate, then make sure that that's there. If you have, let's say you're a French national as well as Lebanese, you can add that either in the contact, in the footer, or you can add it in the on top in the executive summary. I'm gonna put here a good reference for a template or a place where you can get a lot of templates for your resume. Okay. Any questions so far? Okay, so the last couple of things that I'll add is try not to have Hotmail as your email address. Hotmail is when I was younger, so it's like 100 years old. So try to do something like Gmail or something a bit more progressive. It does make an impression, believe it or not. Last but not least, do mention that you speak other languages. If that is something that you do, which I'm pretty sure that all of you do. All right, now, خلصنا من the resume. We talked about cover letters. I'll actually also send another link for the cover letters.
Sorry, may I ask a question?
Go for it, Nader.
Yes, this is Nader. So I did ask the question on the chat mainly regarding tailoring the CV to a job. Usually our LinkedIn profile is also populated with experience and job position, so on and so forth. It's like a mini CV. So when I adjust my CV for that certain job, I should also go back to my LinkedIn profile and adjust it in the same way, because they're gonna look at my profile anyway and they might see it not being consistent.
Yeah.
So should I always do that every time I apply to a job and adjust the CV?
Yeah, so let's be clear on what adjusting or tailoring the CV is, right? What you're gonna be tailoring, what I mean by tailoring the CV is not necessarily you're gonna be inventing stuff that you haven't done, right? You're gonna be focusing and phrasing things in a way that has the transferable skills that will get you the second job. Now, it's not, you're not gonna reinvent what the job was, right? You're just gonna phrase it differently. So, especially if you are looking to apply to jobs that are very, very different, like marketing with Naila versus business analyst with Marta, this is where I would keep your LinkedIn profile to something that is the bare minimum, maybe just give highlights of what you've done without necessarily going into the detail. Yani your CV will end up having maybe 3 or 4 times the details that are on your LinkedIn. Does that help?
Yeah, definitely, especially the last part of making the LinkedIn profile much more concise. Yeah, I think there should not be a drawback.
Exactly.
All right. Do you think there's a place in the CV for hobbies and interests?
Absolutely. So this is in the extracurricular activities, especially if you're able to bring something that is memorable. Yani if you have 15 million hobbies, pick the ones that you think are memorable and that will showcase a different aspect of your personality. For example, let's say you were a developer and you worked on your own, or you did a lot of solo activities. Then Naila might think, okay, maybe this guy doesn't know how to play well together. So if you've done some community activities or some, group sports, make sure you highlight that in the extracurricular. Also, if you're a developer, like I used to be, people often ask you, does this person have social skills? So if you do theater on the side, make sure you add that.
Yeah. And I mean, I think just to add to that, it would be really interesting if you do have projects on the side, like you did the blog, or I don't know, you volunteer in associations. I think it's very important to show those, so that you're proactive and sort of, I would say, entrepreneurial. So like to do things to help others. If you've done activities like that, it would be great to add them. And just on that topic, I'll answer the question in the chat about webinars and online trainings. Definitely do add them. It shows you're curious and you like to learn, and you like to learn different things that may not be related to the job. But again, if you did 10 things, try to avoid laundry lists and maybe pick the ones that could be relevant to the job, and keep it concise. So don't put like 20 things, nobody's gonna read them. Try to be concise, try to relate it to the job if at all possible.
Yeah. Volunteering takes a lot of time, but let me tell you that in a lot of these multinationals, one of the major skills that you're gonna have to showcase is that you're able to manage your time and your energy properly. So unless volunteering becomes your full-time job because you have 15,000 associations that you're involved in very heavily, I would say it's rare that you would get asked that, how would you have time for us? Nobody expects you to work 24/7. At least they won't say it. I mean, I've worked with employers that expect that implicitly, but nobody would say it. So in fact, a lot of the people in those high performing cultures are work hard, play hard. So, and it was the same way at INSEAD. It was, you do these hardcore activities to be able to sustain you so that you're able to get that you're able to get the balance and then free up your mind, make sure that your body can handle the pressure. When would a job experience be too old to list in a CV? 10 years, less or more? Okay, so it won't be too old to list unless it's irrelevant and it's been a long time since, and B, if by taking it out, you're not creating a gap. So for example, I started my career over 20 years ago and I was working in parallel to going to school. So and then after that, I worked full time. So the work that I did while I was going to school, I highlight very briefly. I just have like one word about it. And then as I run out of space, I actually start removing it one by one, right? It's less relevant to what I do now, but it's important because it shows the progression. It also shows the variety of environments that I worked in. For example, I worked at a research institution which had the highest, the biggest supercomputer in the world. I want to highlight that. I was a researcher. It helps showcase the technical part of me that I don't necessarily leverage as much anymore. But I'm not looking for a technical position, so I don't necessarily need to talk about the languages I used or the research methods I used. So I just mentioned it that I was a researcher there. Basta. Good. I want to go back to another. What is your take on highly visual CVs, graphical CVs, and text boxes? Look, visually appealing is good. Super creative, maybe less so. Especially if you're applying to more traditional companies. If you're applying for tech companies, a lot of them are more flexible, more informal, and they're happy if you're creative, especially if you're going to work for a like a UX person or UI or design or marketing. Then knowing how to market yourself becomes very important. It's part of how you showcase your craft. But if you're going to be an engineer or a consultant at a very square type of environment, then it's safer to stick with the traditional formats. Photos are a plus and almost a must. Photos and age and marital status are almost a must in a French company. Mm-hmm. In a global company, it's a no-no. They can actually disqualify you just because you have the photo, the age, the marital status. It could be considered positive or negative discrimination if they take your CV. Mm. It's less risky for them to ignore your CV and put it on the side so that you don't come back and say, they didn't hire me because of this, or they hired me because, or somebody else can say they hired you because of that. Okay. Multiple nationalities, if they're interesting, add them. Play it safe. يعني no need to say بالعربي المشرح, no need to say if you're Lebanese, if you're American, or you're French, and you're applying to a French or American company. Play it safe. That's all I'm gonna say. It's okay to add the languages, but yes, you never know. You never know. Play it safe. We're here to help you optimize your chances. And nobody said that the CV has everything about you, including your digestive problems and your biggest insecurities. Yeah. So we're just, the CV is there to showcase what you need to highlight. Which brings me to your point, Nader. 6 is too much, especially if they become repetitive and you cannot, and you need the space to showcase something else. It's not a black or white answer. It's, you take it as a whole. Does one of them, is this your job that you've been in for the last 10 years? Then 6 is not too much. But if this is a job that you had for 2 weeks before they actually transfer to something else, 6 is too much. And this goes back to tailoring your CV and then showcasing what is important for that specific one. Okay. I want to move on to another point, which is your social media presence. A lot of you have contacted me on multiple different places where I've posted jobs, where I've had conversations. And I'm going to be very frank. When I look at your profile and I see your LinkedIn or your Facebook page, and you have a very suggestive pose, or your pose in a next to a, like with a open shirt with tattoos or cigar on the beach, etc. That's the image that's going to stick in my mind. If you want me to take you for a person that's gonna take the job, help me project you into that job. Help me project you, make it easier for the decision, make it easier for the conversion. This is part of branding yourself. And every single recruiter, I guarantee you, every single recruiter is looking at every single one of your social media presence. Your Instagram, your TikTok, your LinkedIn, your Facebook, your Twitter, your Yammer, your Clubhouse, everything. And there are tools to automate this. Like, there are tools that actually look at this to think, to figure out your credit worthiness to give you a loan. That's how seriously a lot of these companies take this. Okay, so please give yourself a boost. Help yourself and make sure that your social media presence conveys the image you want to provide about yourself. I'm not saying kill your personality. I'm not saying go become a nun or whatever. All I'm saying is be careful on the visibility, be careful on the image you're curating about yourself to the world. Which brings me to another point. Your communication with the recruiter, your communication with the recruiting manager. In Lebanon, we love to say dear. Habibti, Hayati. In the US, it was darling, especially in the South. Dear is not a nice way to talk to people. It's too familiar, and it's not. Dear is something you say to your cousin. So stay away from dear. Okay.
Yeah.
And
just generally to add to that, I think maybe it comes from a cultural background and clash. So, I mean, when I moved to France, I noticed in all their communication, professional or, I mean, personal, but kind of not your friends, they are very, very formal. So if you don't know the culture, your best bet is to stay formal. So I'll give you an example. I live both in France and the US. US are more laid back than in France. But still, compared to our very warm culture where we get to know somebody in 5 minutes, they are still more formal. So try to be, of course, polite and keep it formal and stick to business discussion. That's otherwise it's a faux pas. In that manner, you avoid faux pas, basically.
Yeah. And what I mean by dear is hello, dear, or dear, how are you? No, dear Mrs. Sper or dear Desiree is fine. In the US, you'll even see Naila, virgule, and then you start with the content. In France, it's more Mr. Da da da, but never dear alone. Okay, please, please. Then in the theme of communication with the recruiters, know that recruiters and people that post jobs get bombarded. Many of you here try to get a WhatsApp with me or a call with me, and let me tell you, I've had to repeat the whole, I'm really sorry, I cannot take the call. I just can't. Like physically, I have 24 hours in the day, and as much as I want to help, I can't. And that's what's the main reason for this webinar, is because I just cannot scale my time to be able to help you all. And this is me wanting to help. The recruiter has an even less incentive to spend the time, to spend the extra time to try and talk to every single one of them, one of you. So questions like the job description, or when do I apply, or the things that you can answer for yourself, answer for yourself. I've had one person send me a message, and when I said, and that is a person I don't know, and when I said, here's the seminar, please join us, we'll be addressing a lot of these, that person was like, can you send me a reminder the day off? And I was like flabbergasted. This is a definite no. You do not ask people to do your job for you. Do you want the job or not? Do your best to actually research, to come up with very succinct questions. Be mindful of the recruiter's time, of their priorities. And when you do have to follow up, and I'm not saying don't follow up, do follow up, by the way. We have a cultural stigma around following up, no, you're either serious about the job and then you are perseverant, and then you do follow up while being very nice and saying, I do apologize, I know you have a lot on your plate, but or honestly, maybe don't go for the more competitive companies. It's not gonna play in your favor. The other thing I'll say is that always be clear in what you're asking for. I receive a lot of emails with people like, okay, here's my CV, شوفي شو بدك تعملي. Help me help you. Tell me what job you're interested in. Tell me why you're best for the job. Give me some context on where you actually know me from, where you've seen the job description from. And tell me what would be most helpful for you. Tell me you have a couple of questions and ask me, do you prefer I send those to you by email, or do you have a time for a 15-minute chat? If I don't respond in 2 weeks, send back, hey, sorry to bother you again. Would love to get your insights on this. I'm really interested in this job and I think I can be a very good fit. Would love your insights on X, Y, Z. And then at this point, put the questions in the email. I would also love to get on a call if you have time. But either way, thanks for the help. So be courteous, be nice, help the person help you, especially if it's not your uncle, basically, right? So be mindful of that. What else okay. The templates are above. If you scroll above Salam, you'll see the templates in the Hire Club. Thank you, Naila. The 2-hour job search will help you with an easy read on communication. But I've spoken enough about this, about CVs and communication. Make sure you do not have faute d'orthographe. So proofread your communication. Give it to somebody who's a native speaker to actually read it and help you and coach you. Make sure you have very tangible actions to help people give you what you need. So be very clear on what you need. Make sure it's not a laundry list. Yeah, and the 2-3 things that are important in a way so that the answer is going to take a couple of minutes. And do follow up very nicely, very courteously, but do follow up. Is it a good idea to send work samples with our CV if relevant, or is it considered spammy? Then ask for them. It doesn't hurt to add a link to your portfolio online and to say this is a good showcase for the things that I can do, especially if it's relevant to the job that you're doing. Don't send attachments. Don't send big files in an email. For one, a lot of them go to spam just because you're a new sender and people don't have a lot of space. And 2, people will not take the time to actually go through your big portfolio, especially if they're upset that you sent them this really big thing that they're having to read on their mobile. What's your take on personal branding, such as having our own website? Look, if this is important for your job, especially let's say you're a designer or you're a software developer or you have some kind of portfolio to do this, yes, do it. If Marta wants to do it and she's a business analyst, I mean, it's nice, but I don't think that it would help much. I don't know, Naila or Marta, if you have a different, if you're a marketer, yes. But otherwise, I'm not sure. Naila or Marta, feel free to jump in.
Yeah, I'm aligned. I think there are a few jobs that are expected that you send some material like UX designer, visual designer, maybe marketing, if we're looking at like your ability to create communities or nice websites. But other than that, not useful. Also for other type of jobs, of course, you have to be careful not to send any confidential material from your previous company. Yeah. They won't like it because they think you're going to do the same for them. You're not doing them a favor.
And you might get them, it's a risky situation for them, because then if they end up doing something, even if they haven't seen it there, but if it could be traced to that, then that company might come back and sue them.
Yeah.
So I'll finish it with one word. Do not disparage anybody or anyone. If you've had a problem in your previous job, if you had a problem with the previous, because you will be asked, why are you leaving? Hopefully you have a job that you're leaving. Then, find a constructive, very politically correct way to phrase that. Do not say, the guy was because was an idiot, or I was treated badly, or it was a toxic environment. You can say, you can say that much nicer. You can say, I was looking for a better cultural fit. That's much better than passing a judgment on the culture, saying it was a toxic environment. They will find out when they do reference check, yes or no. But even if they do find out, it's not. I'm not lying when I say it wasn't a good fit. I'm just not passing a judgment saying it's a toxic environment. I'm just saying it's not good for me.
Yeah, of course, on that topic, you have to make sure that you're going to give references that will give you a good reference. You have to have a certain level of confidence that whoever will speak for you has a good opinion of you. I think a common kind of pitfall we fall into, you cannot give your current manager because you don't want them to know that you're leaving or you're looking for something else. So it's important to keep in touch with prior managers you've worked with at the same company and they have left, or maybe even at the same company. Think also of professors or people who have whom you've worked with on projects, extracurricular projects. But it's very, very important that you trust that the person will give you a good reference. It's a big turn off if that person gives you even a lukewarm reference.
Yeah. So with that, I'll turn it over to Marta to tell us a little bit about application process and interviewing tips, especially from a consulting perspective. Martissima. Marta, you're on mute. And she's not here. Okay, so any questions while we wait for Marta to come back? D'accord. Okay, so she has an urgent call. She's coming back in 2 minutes. Any questions in the meantime? Rana, I see a question. No? Okay. Leticia, did you want us to quickly scan through your resume, or does the session help?
I could send it, but I feel like I have to change a few things.
Sorry, Desiree.
Okay.
Sorry.
No problem. Hi, Marta.
Hi, sorry, I had last minute call.
No worries. Go for it.
So we would like to discuss preparing interviews, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I guess to prepare interviews, there are 3 main things to look at. So first, it's what you will do as well for your CVs or when you're applying to any job. So it's really understand the company, the job you're applying to. So for that, you need to talk with the most people you can find on LinkedIn, or people that may have worked previously in the company, so that they can give you as much input as they can on the company and the job you're applying to. Second would be to understand the scope and how the interview would be structured. So really try to see if any people in the same school or people that you may know also on LinkedIn have already done the interview or have applied, and could give you a little bit more of insight on how the interview is structured and how it will go. What would be the typical questions? Is it, for example, at McKinsey, it's you will have a case to prepare, but also you will have a strong focus on fit questions and understand what have you done previously in either a job or extracurricular activity. And the last one would be to really get to know the interviewer that will be doing the interview during your first round or second round of interviews. So try to go. So basically, usually you will have the interviewer name the first, like a day before or the same day of the interview. Try to go on LinkedIn, try to see what the person have done before. It will help you first for the interview at the end, because you need to ask some question to the interviewer. So maybe ask him about his previous work or what he has currently done in his current job, and as well as understanding a little bit more what are, I don't know, his hobby. Maybe you will find that someone worked in marketing previously and you have a good background in marketing, so you can have like some point to discuss during the interview. I guess that the 3 main points you need to do for interviews. Then for each job position, of course, it will differ. For example, for McKinsey, you need to work on your cases. You need to try to find people whom you can do cases with. I would suggest also to maybe try to start interviews with companies that you wouldn't like to go to, that could help you in terms of training, and then go to the 3 best companies, keep them at the end, and stuff like that. For any other companies, I'm not quite sure. I didn't do a lot of interviews, but my most recent interview would be at McKinsey. But if you have any questions, don't hesitate.
Naila, how is the interviewing at Amazon?
Yeah, so at Amazon, we really focus on what we call behavioral question. So just general tip, it's very, very important to read and look up the company culture so you can prepare yourself for the interview. Amazon has a very particular way of doing it. So they do publish what they call leadership principles. So they are basically 14 principles that shape the culture. And all the questions go back to these leadership principles. And they would ask you a situation 1. Okay, to see if you are good or not good at a certain leadership principle. So I'll just name a few that are important basically at every job at Amazon and potentially other jobs as well. Deliver results, right? So they want to know how you deliver results. Bias for action. You're able to take a decision quickly and do things quickly when you have a tight deadline. So an example question, can you tell me about a time when you had to make a quick decision to enable a launch? What did you sacrifice to be able to meet that deadline? Another example question, can you tell me about a time when you delivered a project and a tight deadline? So what they're looking for, of course, is your ability to deliver results and a tight deadline, but also your ability to prioritize what's important and what's not important, right? And so on, similar questions to that. So what's very, very important to prep for this type of question is, of course, knowing what you did. And believe me, it's not easy. What I do, I write them down as if I'm gonna say them. And that helps me remember them. It's very important when you speak to use clear communication. Of course, there might be language barriers, and if your English is not great or perfect, what you need to do and tell yourself is keep it simple. Use short sentences. Don't try to speak in convoluted sentences. And use the famous STAR method, right? So describe what the situation is, what you wanted to do, and really spend a lot of time describe what you did and when I say what you did, what you did. So a lot of times, and this is especially true for women, when they speak, they say, we did this, we did that, we decided this. At the end of the day, after I hear this, I'm like, did you decide it? Did your manager decide it? And sometimes I ended up just being blunt and asking, when you say we, is it you? Who did this? So be very careful when you talk about your action to balance, to say, I did this and we did that. So be careful in your use of pronouns there. And of course, very important to be able to talk about the results and of course, quantify the results as much as you can. Of course, you cannot disclose confidential information, but you can say things like, I grew the number of users by 100%, right? So you need to remember this. And the reason they ask these details is they want to make sure you know what you did and you did it. If you don't know the details, they're gonna have a doubt whether it's you who did that project or not.
Yeah. So we're getting to the end of the session. I can stay a few extra minutes if you guys want, but to sum it up, people have a job posting because they have a problem they want to solve. Their success is to be able to find the best person for the job. So the closer you are to your skills and the way you convey your skills is to what they're looking for, the easier you're gonna make the decision. You need to prepare, and prepare some more. So there was a question, what is Deloitte and KPMG are looking for? We just listened to what Amazon's looking for, what McKinsey is looking for. I can tell you that each one of those large companies have had enough interviews, and there are enough platforms where you can really easily find that information, from the cultural fit to the interview structure to what people are valued internally, etc. Go to glassdoor.com. Go to a lot of the platforms where people talk about the culture. To go to the actual blog of the company itself. Do your research, prepare. And I know that when we don't have too many options, we tend to actually just want to take whatever comes our way. But for you to maximize that, you need to make sure you do as much of this tailoring as possible. So once you've looked at the cultural piece, once you've figured out how what you have done matches that, once you're able to articulate things in very quantifiable ways, and once you're able to do that, practice with your friends, practice with employees from your alma mater. Try to find people that are within the company to talk to, that are friendly. You need to use different influencing techniques, different networking techniques to be able to get to those folks. Ask people who know people who are in their network to actually introduce you. And try to practice as much as possible. It will not hurry you to be practiced. And then the day off, just breathe, be yourself, trust that you've practiced enough, and wish it but don't want it. Meaning, wish that it would happen, but don't so desperately want it that it's going to come across as such that you're desperate, that you don't have any other choices. No. You have something to offer that's very valuable. They need somebody who has something to offer that's very valuable. It's just a matter of making sure that it's a match. It's the right match.
Yes, Desiree, may I ask a question?
Yes, Nader, I'm going to start charging.
Yeah, all right. So,
Nader, you should laugh at least.
Yeah, I didn't get I ما سمعت شو قلتي.
It's fine. Go ahead.
Sorry, I missed your joke, but yeah, I'm sure it was a good one. Anyway, my question is, so I applied to Deloitte like 5 years ago. It was a long time. And everything went well. I was internally referred. Yeah, I had a friend who worked there and she referred me. So I got an interview went well. Everything went great. I moved to the phase where they gave me a test to fill, and it's a subjective test. So they told me, you know, there's no right or wrong answer, just answer whatever you know. So I answered this test to the best of my knowledge. It was mostly a behavioral kind of test that talks about how you actually behave in a certain work environment. So I answered to the best of my knowledge. I think it was an honest answer. And so they called me the other day, that day afterwards, and they told me, you know, we got the answers for your test and we're sorry, there's no match. I was like, no match? On what basis? Like, was there anything wrong? I said. They're like, no, it's just that there's no match. There's no cultural fit. They said something which I didn't really get. But I thought, in my view, it was a prejudgment. And I was being evaluated on some standardized subjective test. I haven't even tried my probation period yet, and you're judging me by saying that I'm not a fit. Who knows? I might adjust, I might adapt if I really want the job. So I thought that was a prejudgment, and now I'm applying to Deloitte again for a brand associate position. And will they look up my previous application and see, oh, he applied 5 years back and he was not a culture fit, so we're not going to consider them this time anyway? So my question is your take on that thing that happened. Do you think it's really an objective way of actually assessing someone? And second, are they going to look up my previous application? Or are they going to just forget me?
To your first question, I wouldn't know. I don't know what their internal criteria are, and I'm not going to make a judgment on how they decide on this. I have no context and no place to actually make a judgment, and it doesn't matter what I think of it. It is what it is. To the second point, they might or they might not, and they might look it up and say, okay, he has changed. Only by applying will you find out. If you have a connection to somebody in their HR recruiting department, they might be able to give you some insights. But I'll leave you with a thought, Nader. When people tell you it's not a match, believe them. Even if they're seeing something that you're not seeing, even if something you see as positive, they're seeing as negative, it is what it is. If it's not a match, it's not a match. It's like when you go dating, right? If the person is not interested, I mean, you try and ask, you try and get insights so that you can do better next time. But at the end of the day, you are what you are. You bring to the table what you bring to the table. And I know, believe me, I know that it's hard when you really need the job. But this is where the mental exercise comes in. And this is where if you start thinking about things from a perspective of abundance, and again, I know it's hard to do when we've just gone through a freaking explosion, when the country is collapsing, when the money is stuck, when there is no food. I know it's really hard, but this is the mental challenge that you should and can have control over. So try to, as much as possible, put yourself in the frame of mind that it is one of the jobs. I bring a lot to the table. I think it's a great fit. I'm going to do my utmost best to prepare and to present the best of me. But if they don't see it, I'm going to follow up. I'm going to try to get an actionable, objective feedback, but that's all I can do. It is not a reflection on if I am a good person or not, if I'm a good professional or not. Maybe there are some things I can learn for the next presentation, and then it's great if they give me the feedback, but if not, next. Marta, I know you wanted to say something.
No, it's just that it happened with me. So I didn't get the offer at BCG at the final round. Same for Bain, they told me the same thing. And at the end, I'm at McKinsey, and it's basically the same. So they told me that the fit wasn't there. And BCG asked me to reapply a year later, so that I would have, so I would gain more experience by then and would be maybe better at cases. And it's just exactly what you said, Desiree. It's just, if it's not a match, then it means that it's not a match, and you just need to persevere and apply to other companies and just don't give up, because at the end of the day, your match will be there. And if you persevere and you work hard for it, you will get there.
So one exercise I'm gonna suggest, and the CV application, the job search is not an exercise that brings out everybody's confidence. It's typically a draining exercise. It's emotionally and physically and financially difficult for many of us, most of us, I would say. So one exercise, and this is just me saying that, is to try and write out your narrative about what you bring to the table. Ask your friends the best qualities they see in you, right? Try to put them all together in some kind of a page or a Word document, or whatever it is, something you read every morning on your mirror. Just remind yourself of the positive that you've done. If you're somebody who needs proof, then think back at your accomplishments and put those in front as well to go in. Okay, yeah, my self dialogue is telling me that I'm shit because nobody's, you know, I'm not able to land the jobs. I'm not able to go through the interviews. Look at the accomplishments, and it will appeal to the very you know, hard factual part of your brain. Do the things that make you happy and fulfilled, such as the exercises, such as hugging your loved ones, such as I don't know, watching a feel-good movie, watching a 2-minute video on YouTube, and I kid you not, it does change the chemistry in your brain and your perspective on life. I know it's hard. I know it's hard. I know it's hard. I've changed careers, not just jobs, careers over 8 times in my life, including functions, including geography. It's not the exercise that our brain is optimized for. It's creating this new neural path. It's getting us to change the way we view the world, and it's putting us into the test, right? It's making it, yeah, we're naked in front of so many different people at once, and if our self-worth is coming from the job itself, then, you know, they're hitting the most difficult, the most sensitive part of it. And I empathize, and you're not alone. Seek help. Seek help. Get your support system to be there for you. Be it your mom telling you "تقبرني حياتي," you're the best, they'll be lucky to have you. Be it your I don't know, your chief scout, whatever it is. Get all the help that you can, but do your job. Prepare. Do your research. Talk to people inside the company. Make sure your CV is flawless. Follow up. Use the right language. Quantify. Present yourself well. Put your own reminders. Don't ask me to remind you for a webinar. And even for those ladies that are looking for technical jobs, and I've had a few of you send me information here and that, there's an excellent Facebook group as well as a web called Tech Ladies. Tech Ladies. Do look it up. Sorry, Denise, I sent it to you. Tech Ladies. Do look it up. Do ask to be on there. It's wonderful for anything from what is the culture like at Deloitte to how do I transition from marketing to product management to what the heck is SEO optimization to can you help me practice, all of that. So do use it, and you know, come back to Alumni Central with all of your questions, your needs. We might be doing something on Clubhouse, and yeah, just you know, more than happy to help to the extent possible. I don't know what the objective statement, you know, this is what I'm looking for. I mean, you can combine both of them, Nader. You can combine both of them. And again, take everything that we said with a grain of salt. It's not a black and white. Again, we're saying this from our own personal experience, nothing to do with McKinsey or Amazon or any other affiliation of the companies that we're with. This is just the three ladies here with Wael and Alumni Central trying to help as much as we can. So don't quote us on anything. Do your research. Take the advice if you want it. Leave it if it doesn't work for you. And follow Alumni Central on social media so that you can be informed of future webinars like that. With that, I think we're good to go. Thank you everybody for the participation, and hopefully you found it helpful. We would love to hear your feedback on this so that we can continue to enhance and then provide more value to others. Wael, do you have something? Do you have something to share for the? You're welcome, Nader and Salam. Do you have something to share for feedback, or how do you would like to collect
For
that.
those who would like to hear back from us, please put your email in the chat box. We will be sending an email, like a short survey about future events. Oh, thank you all for attending. Hopefully we see you soon. Thank you,
Yeah.
ladies. Thank you.
And please give us the feedback, your feedback, what worked, what didn't work. We're gonna be sending you a link. Thank you. Well, good luck. Good luck, good luck, good luck. You can do this.
Thank you.
Ciao.